UFC 319 is officially over, and your new UFC middleweight champion is Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev defeats Dricus du Plessis in a one-sided decision win. This was a maul. Khamzat Chimaev did exactly what he wanted to do against DDP. DDP had no answer at all, couldn't defend any takedowns, couldn't play the guard. He had no jiu-jitsu game at all. And that's why Khamzat Chimaev controlled him for 21 minutes. DDP literally had nothing to answer for at all. DDP landed a total of 45 strikes, 13 significant strikes. Khamzat Chimaev landed a total of 529 strikes, 37 significant strikes. He had 21 minutes of control time and landed 12 of 17 takedowns. This was insane. We thought going into this fight, if it's a decision win, then it's got to be DDP in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Khamzat Chimaev should slow down. DDP should, try and do something on the ground, defend the takedown, maybe land some strikes on the feet and get Khamzat, backing up and maybe be able to do something there. But that didn't happen at all. Literally every round in the first 30 seconds or so, Khamzat Chimaev just blast doubled DDP, took him to the ground, got onto his back, and threatened a rear naked choke, or maybe would put him in side control and go to the crucifix position and land some punches in the crucifix, or he would throw some elbows. And there was a couple of times, especially in rounds 1, 2, and 3, where I thought there's no way DDP is, he's got to give up at this moment. He's just getting hit a lot. And I've been seeing a lot of people say, Khamzat Chimaev didn't do anything. This was just a wrestling clinic. Well, yeah, that's what we expected. Did anybody expect anything else? Did we think Khamzat Chimaev was going to go in there and knock out DDP on the feet? No, we knew he was going to wrestle DDP. We knew he was going to out-wrestle him. We knew he was going to have control. It was just, how long can he do this for? So the people that are getting mad at Khamzat Chimaev for winning on how he did, you're just being ridiculous, right? And the people that said, oh, Khamzat Chimaev didn't threaten DDP at all. Dude, look at DDP's face in the 5th round. He got beat up. He couldn't do anything. And when he was put in the crucifix position, all DDP could do was try and buck out of it. He was trying to, I don't even know what he was trying to do. He couldn't even get out of it. And I think the reason why Khamzat Chimaev didn't progress more when he was in the crucifix position, extend out more and land more elbows, I think he was afraid that DDP was going to just outmuscle him and kind of turn him over. But it didn't matter. At the end of the day, it did not matter. DDP had no guard game. He had no way to threaten Khamzat Chimaev on the ground. And looking back on it, we kind of knew this. We just thought, we were so reliant on Khamzat Chimaev declining after the 3rd round that we just assumed that DDP's ground game and his striking would eventually catch up to Khamzat Chimaev. And it didn't. Khamzat Chimaev had great cardio all throughout the fight. 21 minutes of control time. That is insane to have against someone like DDP. In the 5th round, DDP actually ended up taking down Khamzat Chimaev in this reversal. DDP had, maybe about 5 seconds of success, but other than that, this was a one-sided dominant fight. I don't think Khamzat Chimaev, I think he intended on finishing DDP in that 1st round. But I think after the 1st round, when he realized he couldn't get DDP out of there, I do think a lot of Khamzat Chimaev's game was, let's just control as long as we can, and when DDP gives up mount or the back, I'll threaten the submission there. But if I'm not in those two positions, I don't want to go for anything and then risk me getting on bottom, DDP land some ground and pound himself. I think that's why we saw Khamzat Chimaev when he was in that crucifix position or in side control or in the guard of DDP. He didn't really go for a lot because I think he was afraid that DDP could outmuscle him, have a sweep or reverse Khamzat, and then land some ground and pound. There was a couple of times where Mark Goddard separated Khamzat Chimaev and DDP, which I did not like. I don't care how boring a fight is. If someone is just ragdolling you and you just can't get out of it, that's not an excuse to break it up. It's different when Khamzat Chimaev is just stalling and just holding you there, right? But if I'm landing knees to the thigh or side punches to the face, you can't separate that. Like, I'm doing something. I don't care if it's not cutting up DDP. He's got to get out of this. And that's what like kind of irritates me. If Khamzat Chimaev would have landed just, a couple of shots and made DDP bleed from those positions, they wouldn't have separated him. But the fact that Khamzat Chimaev didn't make DDP bleed, when he's on top or whatever the case is, and he's landing these strikes, they have to separate him because they're like, oh, there's not enough going on. Like, that's not fair. I think Khamzat Chimaev, it didn't matter because he still would have won. But it's the fact that Khamzat Chimaev was in these dominant positions, still landing strikes, and then Mark Goddard steps in and separates them. For DDP, I think he needs to get someone like a Craig Jones in his corner if he wants to fight Khamzat Chimaev again in the future, because his grappling was really bad. He had no guard game. He had nothing. DDP had nothing. I really don't know what he was doing in camp. Besides defending the takedown, what were you doing? I genuinely don't know. He has no jiu-jitsu. It's crazy because DDP knocked out Robert Whittaker, knocked out Israel Adesanya, beat Sean Strickland, and then loses to Khamzat Chimaev the way he did. It just didn't look like the same DDP, Overall, I think this was a great performance by Khamzat Chimaev. I don't think it was a great fight because it wasn't that entertaining on a back-and-forth battle. But it was a good performance by Khamzat Chimaev. I enjoyed how dominant he was. I liked how we saw him go to a decision, a 5-round fight. For the first time ever, he went to a decision for a 5-round fight, so that was good to see. That's, a big plus for Khamzat Chimaev. People are upset with Khamzat because they didn't think he looked that good. It was a boring fight. Well, it's hard to have an insane fight on back-to-back spinning back knockouts. Lerone Murphy knocking out Aaron Pico and Carlos Prates knocking out Jeff Neal. It's hard to have a better performance than that, But Khamzat Chimaev did what he needed to do. Great performance. I would like to see Khamzat either face RDR if he is ready in time, or face the winner of Nasruddin Imavov or Caio Borralho. I think those are rightfully the next number one contenders in the middleweight division. For Dricus du Plessis, I would like to have him take some time off. Maybe take 6 months to a year off, recover, try and let your body reheal, and then kind of see how this middleweight division plays out. He could face the loser of Nasruddin Imavov or Caio Borralho, or we could see DDP versus RDR. That would be a great matchup. There's still a lot of fun fights for DDP. Overall, though, I think this was a one-sided fight, and Khamzat Chimaev did exactly what he needed to do, and you just couldn't stop him. In the co-main event, Lerone Murphy had a crazy spinning back elbow knockout against Aaron Pico. And this is exactly what I said in my pre-fight video. You cannot trust Bellator fighters. In the beginning, I was like, wow, Aaron Pico looks pretty good. Like, he could win. And then towards the end of the first round, I'm thinking, dang, Lerone Murphy is kind of piecing up Aaron Pico. Then lands the crazy spinning back elbow and flatlines Aaron Pico. Flatlines him. He literally looks like he is out, like not alive on the canvas. Crazy fight, crazy performance. I'm so happy to see Lerone Murphy get a knockout. A lot of people were hating on him, saying, all he does is get boring decision wins. That was a great performance for him to set himself up against Alexander Volkanovski. Lerone Murphy deserves a title shot now. Or maybe you could do Lerone Murphy versus Movsar Evloev for the number one contender. But Lerone Murphy put himself up there now in title contention. He showed and proved why he is undefeated, why he is in this spot. And I would like to see him face Alexander Volkanovski or the number one contender against Movsar Evloev, equally just as good. In the featured fight, Carlos Prates, also spinning back elbow knockout against Jeff Neal at the end of the first round. Literally 1 second left. overall, this was a good performance by Carlos Prates. He looked phenomenal. He was bobbing and weaving, just piecing up Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal is just too stagnant as a fighter. He's very linear, where he's just straight up and down. Just he has a high guard and he's just throwing ones and twos, and then he'll try and circle a little bit. But you can see early on he was trying to cut off Carlos Prates, and Carlos Prates was just running around the cage trying to keep that distance. But Carlos Prates was piecing up Jeff Neal, landing beautiful kicks, beautiful leg kicks, and then he would pop in and almost act like he's throwing a spinning back elbow or spinning back kick, and then just throw a 1-2 and blast forward. And then, of course, at the end of the first round, literally 1 second left, he throws a spinning back elbow, knocks out Jeff Neal. Beautiful performance, which was insane because we had 3 performance of the night bonuses. Khamzat Chimaev got performance of the night. Lerone Murphy got performance of the night. Carlos Prates got performance of the night. Insane fight. Insane performances by those 3. Michael Venom Page, last fight I'll talk about. Michael Venom Page looked phenomenal against Jared Cannonier. Did exactly what we thought he was going to do. He was faster than Jared Cannonier. Pieced him up. Blitzing in. He does that skip in 1-2, and then he'll push you back and make you fall. Michael Venom Page schooled Jared Cannonier, decision win. There was multiple times where Jared Cannonier was threatening the submission on Michael Venom Page, the key lock, the Americana, the Kimura. Third round, he was just on top, had top control for a good bit, and was pretty much controlling that round. But overall, in the first 2 rounds, Michael Venom Page was just outstriking Jared Cannonier, landing great shots, pieced him up, looked good. Michael Venom Page ended up calling out Carlos Prates in the press conference. So that could be a fun match in Rio de Janeiro. But other than that, great fights for UFC 319. I was very, very pleased with how this fight night went. Dricus du Plessis completely mauled by Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev proved a lot of people wrong, but that's the fight game. When people start doubting you, that's when you start winning. 5-round decision win. No one thought he was going to do it, but he did. 12 takedowns, 21 minutes of control time. That is my recap of UFC 319, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next video.